All right, welcome back to the Endless Pursuit podcast. Just want to give a quick shout out to all the listeners, those that have checked out previous episodes, taking a little bit of your time to follow us and to check us out. I can't express enough how grateful we are for the support. Just want to express that appreciation. We're not like big time or anything like that, so. We just are happy about any support that we can get. And we pray that the episodes, you've enjoyed the episodes that you've checked out, and it's been a blessing to you guys. It's been a blessing for me to be able to do this. As uncomfortable as it may be for me, it's a blessing to be able to sit across from interesting folks and get to hear them tell their stories. And I hope you guys have enjoyed listening to what they have offered. And so here we are again. We're back, and I'm excited to have my boy Manuel Lerma in the house, aka Double Dribble. And we also came up with some other nicknames for ourselves, South Park Mexican. So I'm excited to. This is long overdue, and I'm happy that you expressed the willingness to come here and just chop it up with me, bro. Yeah. It's I'm happy, and from the moment we met, like we hit it off like from the jump, man. And it's been a blessing getting to know you. And
I appreciate you too.
Yeah, man. So we met through the fitness group, the same way that Joey, Chef Joey, aka TV Dinner.
Yeah.
We met through F3, and like right away, we kind of just started, conversating and getting to know each other. So there's a lot of exercises that involve us, running beside each other, or, getting together with a partner. And there were many times where we partnered up and we got to, have good conversations. And so right away I could tell, man, like, you were a kindred spirit. We shared that like-mindedness, and so, yeah, man, it's been a pleasure getting to know you. And, and then, come to find out you're also a fellow believer, follower of Jesus Christ. So, I mean, I was rejoicing in that I met a brother in Christ out there. And then also, like, we share the same heritage, background, Mexican background.
Yes,
so,
sir.
yeah, man, right away we, had a lot of things in common. And it's been cool getting to know you. And, there were many occasions where, we went to other locations to work out with other, what do you call them? Like, locations, different areas. And so during those times that we would drive out there, we would go together and
yes, sir.
Got to have some good conversations. So I wanted to invite you on, so hopefully we can capture some of that same magic that we did on those car rides, going to those places or while we were out there working out, man. So, yeah, man. So, just let us know, like, what's your background? Like, are you, you were telling George earlier, you grew up here in the Richmond area?
Yes, sir. I've here all my life. I was born here, actually in Sugar Land, one of the hospitals. And, me growing up, like I told you, we had talked in the past, me about, the way I lived and the things that I've gone through and things like that. So, but the life that I lived back then is different now, but it's because of Christ, and we talked about that.
Yeah.
But, I was telling George earlier too, the lifestyle I lived was a lot different because when I lived in Richmond, I lived close to Oak Bend. I don't know if anybody knows where Oak Bend's at here in Richmond, but I lived across the tracks. And being around the people that I was around, you get taught a certain way of living and stuff. And my dad got taught a certain way. My mom also got taught a certain way. And when they became together, you kind of adapt to what they teach you too. And also with you being around your grandparents and your uncles and aunts and stuff like that. So one of the things that we learned as we were growing up is that, like for me, I was different than my sisters. I can do what I wanted, and I can run around and do things. And so that's something that I was taught. But I was telling George about my dad. my grandpa used to tell my dad, hey, I can get you out of jail, but I can't get you out of 6 feet under. Mm-hmm. So my dad, his thoughts were like, hey, let me do what I got to do to make sure I stay safe, or let me get that guy before that guy gets me and stuff like that. So I was kind of taught the same things. Yeah. And we talked about how protecting, being protected of your family members or people like that. So, it's funny that you're talking about how, Richmond, live in Richmond, but that's what you kind of learn in the way you live around this part. But if you come over here to where I live now, and I'm still part of Richmond, it's just really different. Yeah. But so the part that I'm talking about is closer to the tracks. A lot of it's changed. It's a lot better now. And the church I go to, River Point, they do give back to that community a lot. And we give back to them when I can and stuff like that. Yeah, so you mentioned your protective nature. And that's one of the things that I noticed right away about you. Because out there working out with the guys with F3, we would have, friendly competitions, and we got into ultimate frisbee. And a lot of the times we would end up on the same team, or there was even other exercises that we would do, where you're challenging each other. And there were many times where we would be paired up or be on the same team. And I could see that protective nature come out of you, with me. Yeah. I could tell right away that you had my back, and so man, I just knew right away, man, that you were a real one, and you've talked about it, because sometimes it would get hotly contested and stuff, and man, you're this close from getting in the flesh. So that protective nature, I saw it come out of you on several occasions, but I really valued that, man, and that's a big part of who you are, and well, I'm big on respect. Respect, I remember that one day we were there, and that one guy from the other I don't remember what locations they came in. They came in and they were making us do yoga. Yeah. And me, I left. Yeah. My flesh came out, but certain things happened to my body too that made me leave. But still, I felt bad afterwards. We always talk about being a good leader and trying to be an example and stuff. And so sometimes it can be good, but sometimes it can be bad too, depending on, like you said, the flesh. And I told you this past week and a couple of weeks prior to this that I've been, fasting. And I normally don't, like I said, I don't really talk to people. Right. That's one thing that I've been fasting is over our flesh, because our flesh can control the way you do things, and if you're not careful, you can do the wrong thing. Yeah. And you don't want to do that. Especially with the way we live in the world today. You can just do one thing wrong, and if you're trying to live the right way and be a good example, you do one thing wrong, you can just jeopardize the whole time that you did right. Yeah. So you got to be careful. So the things that we do, you do got to be careful. Yeah. Yeah. No, I could tell right away because you seem pretty reserved and chilled and laid back, but it's like the old saying, you can't judge a book by its cover. That's right. And, so no matter how laid back you were, man, I in the moment, I could see that protective nature and be like, whoa, it ain't going down like that. So, I appreciated that, right away, man. I was like, oh, this is my boy right here, man. This is my brother. You're the same way. I saw you would speak up and you do certain things too. I saw you step up when somebody needed to be stepped up. Saying things, and but I think that's just how we are because of. The word of God, we serve others. That God says we should serve others and take care of the people that are there. And like we talked about earlier, not everybody is going to understand why we do certain things, but we do it because of who we are in Christ. And I think that's the good thing about us. We've talked about defending the defenseless, taking up for those that can't take up for themselves, and we on many occasions we saw that come out of you. But man. So. I mentioned earlier about how we share the same Mexican background. So are you first generation Mexican American or So I've done what's it called? The history. What is it? I can't remember the name of it. But Ancestry. Oh, Ancestry. So I've done that, and my dad's side, our family goes back. They go back to Spain. It goes back to Spain. Instead on my mom's side, it's borderline Texas, Mexico area. But basically, I always say, yes, I'm Spanish or yes, I'm Mexican. Yeah, South Part Mexican. But sometimes I tell people I'm a fake Mexican. So I used to work for this guy, this place, and this African guy, his name's Rashid Al-Simbo. I love that guy. But he would always call me fake Mexican because I didn't speak real good Spanish.
Yeah.
You know, I speak Spanish, and I would tell everybody, hey, I might not speak it right, but they understand what I'm talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but yes, I'm background Mexican.
Yeah. So your parents, like they didn't migrate here from anywhere. They were already here.
Yes.
Yeah. What about your grandparents?
I think the same thing.
The same thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know how, but I don't remember. But when we did the ancestry, it tells us that's where we come from.
Okay. Okay.
I know my grandparents, and then on both sides, they were already here.
Yeah. So you're one of how many siblings?
I got 4 sisters.
4 sisters? Mm-hmm. Okay. And you're the only guy.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about how that was growing up, you know, being the only. Were you the baby boy or like in the middle?
I was second to the oldest.
Second to the oldest?
Yeah,
okay.
So I did have to protect a lot of my sisters. The thing is, if you talk to them, you know, everybody has different stories about it, you know. So like for me, I always felt like, hey, growing up, you know, being the only boy, you know, I was the one in charge.
Yeah.
And so basically I was, if I wanted a glass of water, and my wife would tell you, if you ever meet my wife would tell you, she'd come to the house and I said, I need some water. My sisters would jump up, hey, you know, what do you want? You know, and they would give me water or whatever. And but my dad taught my sisters, hey, he's the man of the house when I'm not here, so you respect him and you do what he needs to do and stuff. So, so basically for me, I had a pretty good life. You know?
Yeah,
I did. My dad still was the one thing that I didn't like about my childhood growing up is my dad always said, "Do as I say, not as I do." And so, and we talked about our and we can talk more about it, about my parents and you know, where I was really brought up and stuff like that. But, but overall, my life was pretty good, you know, because I had good sisters. Our relationship still pretty good. Yeah. My parents, as you saw earlier, talked to my mom, and our relationship pretty good too. My mom and dad are still together. They've been together, you know. My mom and I think my dad. I have to go back, and I can't remember how many years, but it's a lot of years. But my mom, I think she had my sister at 15, or 14 or 15, and then she had me at 16.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, we're like back to back. But you think about that, my mom was a kid, you know, when she had us, and and so when we had our daughter, and we could talk about that later too. My wife was 16, it's going on 17. Yeah. So we started young too, and then my daughter had her baby at 16. So it was one of those things. And so we always go back and say, you know, and then also my wife's mom had my wife at 16. So we go back and look like, man, we all did that. It was a young, you know. Yeah. And so
there's that pattern there.
Yes. And so we've always talked about that. Why? You know what I mean? But I always go back and say, hey, God had a plan for it, you know, no matter what. Jeremiah 29:11, you know what it says. And you know, he has a plan for us. And we go back and we talk about that. And I remember when my granddaughter first came into the world, and I remember asking God, you know, I took my daughter to the church. She knows what's right, what's wrong. Why? You know, I kind of questioned God. I remember doing that. Yeah. But then God also I remember God like kind of reminded me like, hey, I'm in charge. I got a plan. And I look at everything now and I was like, yeah, God has a plan for her. So, you know, why question it? Yeah. But anyway, so going back to my lifestyle, you know, everything was good for me as far as my house. And now I didn't have a great life. What I mean by that is I did have a good life. Everything was well, but we had our ups and downs. You know, I remember living in a van in Dallas. Oh, wow. We lived in the van for a while. Not having light, not having water.
All you guys were piled up into a van?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm saying I got a lot of stories. Yeah. And I know we can't do all the stories today. Yeah. But we can talk, you know, about it as much as y'all want. Yeah. You know, I can kind of talk about things that we went through and how we got through it. But I always believe, you know, and I know one thing that we've always talked about is God always had his hand upon it. And, and that starts with my grandpa. My mom's dad. He's always gone to church. I remember he used to come to the house and say, you want to go to church? And But, you know, I think it started with him and then planting that seed. And, you know, we talked about how you plant the seed and you got to let it grow. You know, let somebody else water and let it grow. Right. And so I think it started with him. And then God brought a whole bunch of different people into my life and kind of spoke stuff, but I didn't really listen to him. I was kind of just like whatever. Yeah. And then he brought my wife into my life, and that's when it really happened. When she really started pouring into me and just kept feeding me and feeding me and feeding me. eventually started going to church and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
but I think that God had certain people and put certain people in my life to be able to either push me to go forward. The devil tried to use them to bring me down, but something inside of me just wanted them to prove them wrong. So
Yeah.
but I do believe that God always had a plan for my life and where I'm at now. You know what I mean?
So as far as your family, like, did you guys grow up in church or attending church or no?
No, I really didn't start really going to church until I met my wife.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Now, my
Okay.
grandpa, like I said, I think my mom's dad, he's the one that kind of started it all because he was every Sunday at church, and
Yeah.
he gave his offering, and he's always praying and you
Yeah.
know, stuff like that. So you always saw him, and he was a great leader. I remember looking at him and seeing the things that he'd done and how he treated his wife and his kids
Right.
and stuff like that. So I did learn a lot from him. I do give him a lot of the credit, like as far as being a good example of showing me what a good man should look like.
Yeah.
So, but there's been a lot of people in my life too that has give me wisdom or talk to me about certain things.
Yeah.
That's actually helped me to be who I am now. So
Yeah.
even when they were like telling me because they really believe something different, it either motivated me to prove them wrong, like I said earlier, or just them being around. I say, hey, you know what? Let me help you push you a little bit.
Yeah. So your grandparents were actively involved in your life? You had them available?
I lived with them for a little while. Yes,
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
When I was young age.
Yeah.
Actually, with my grandpa, my dad's grandparents, that's totally different. In the very beginning, we were around them. I think when I turned about 8 or 9, I started working for my uncle, so we kind of started living with my other grandparents.
Yeah.
And we kind of lost connection with my
Yeah.
dad's parents, and it's probably a good thing because of the way my dad was brought up, and then maybe if I was around that environment, I wouldn't be who I am now. Because when I look at some of my dad's brothers, you know, my cousins and stuff, the way they're getting taught and things that they're still doing at the age that they are now.
Yeah.
They haven't changed much. Now, I can't say they live a bad life or nothing like that. I'm just saying that they don't live a life for Christ.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're supposed to be living. And everything that we do, at least put God first.
Yeah.
And I don't see that happening. And like I'm saying, I'm not talking bad about them. I'm just saying, hey, you know, I wouldn't have God first in my life if I would have probably lived in that type of
Exposed to that.
Yes,
Yeah.
I would be exposed to that. So, but yes.
So your maternal grandparents were actively involved in your life?
Yes.
Yeah. No, I bring that up because of how special it seems like that bond is with, you know, grandchildren and their grandparents, you know, and that's something that I wish I could have had more of, you know, but like, unfortunately for me, like, you know, my grandparents were back in Mexico, you know, so I didn't get to have that kind of relationship. And that's something that I always desired. And there was a brief moment in time in my childhood where my mom was able to bring her mother, like my grandma, over here. Like, we went on maybe a couple of occasions to Mexico, to where they're from, to, you know, visit them. And, you know, there was that instant like connection and bond that I had with her, and, you know, and it left me wanting more of that, but we had to come home, you know, and she didn't have permission to come over here. But then there was a one occasion where my mom finally got, you know, got permission or got her a visa to be able to come over here. And she lived with us for a short time. And during that short time, you know, it was special for me, you know, having her. And, but of course, you know, she had to go back. So, but it left that, you know, that desire, you know, like once I got, you know, to taste of what that was like. So I can imagine having them like on a more like permanent basis, you know, how special that must be.
Yes,
you
I
know?
have stories about, you know, my grandpa, what, you know, some of the stuff that he would do, and it was always funny, you know, but yes, it was special, you know, being around them, seeing them, just being in their lives, because I remember when he passed away, I was the only one that was able to go in the room with my aunts and uncles. I was really close to them. So all my sisters and all my siblings and other cousins, they had to wait in the waiting room. And I was the only one that got to go to the back. And when he actually passed away, they actually, you know, he was on a machine keeping him alive. And then when they pulled the plug, I was back there. Even though I didn't like seeing what happened, I was probably the one that was mad, the one that was mad. But when I go back and look at that situation, my uncle Carlos, he was the oldest out of all my parents, my mom's siblings.
Yeah.
And I remember him making that call, hey, Dad wouldn't want to live like this. And I was mad. But I realized, hey, if that was my dad and he told me I don't want to live like this, I have to be obedient to him too.
Yeah.
So I respected my uncle more after I thought about it, like, hey, he was being obedient to what his dad had said.
Yeah.
And you know, that's what you want to do. You want to be obedient to your parents and stuff,
Right.
you know. But I go back and look at all that. But still, like you're saying, it was special to be able to have that time with them, because not many people are able to have that time with their grandparents, like you're saying.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's pretty cool. And obviously, like, you know, he modeled what a man of God, you know, looks like for you. You got a chance to see that firsthand. You know, even though you didn't grow up going to church, you got to see that in him. You know, and I believe that it shaped, you know, who you are today. You know. So just by the way you describe him, you know, it seems like, you know, you were probably a reflection of who he was or who you saw, you know.
Well, I'll tell you some things that helped me after I met my wife. One thing that I always saw him and my grandma did, they always held hands. He would always be hugging her, always focus on her. He wasn't worried about all this. I only saw him look at one other woman one time. The whole time I ever was around him. And that time that I saw him, I like looked at him like, what? But, you know, the lady was a good-looking woman, you know, stuff like that. So I didn't, maybe it was just something that happened. But that was the first time. That was the only time I ever saw him like actually take a glance to where he looked at another woman. But every time that I would see him, they were always together. They looked always happy. He showed that she was the one and she was special. So that showed me that's how to treat my wife. So that's something that I do. I try to make sure that I always look around, and sometimes people think that I'm looking at other women, sometimes whatever, but I know what I'm doing. And I always make sure that my wife knows that she's number one, no matter what. And my wife knows. But I do tell a lot of people that when you're around your wife and stuff, you should show her that she's special. But that's what my grandpa showed me, that his wife, my grandma, was special. And that was something that I really took in and took to heart, because you don't see that much now. You know what I mean? And when you're around your friends, and you know, I remember growing up with my friends, hey man, check out that girl, you know, whatever. And you would, you know, you get caught up on the stuff that you don't have to, you don't even have, it's not even important, you know what I mean? So those are the things that my grandpa kind of helped me to be a better man in that way, you know what I mean? Because a lot of guys don't get taught that. I remember my dad teaching me different. And one story I will tell you, I'll share with y'all, is going down the road, and we were in a van, and then there's a lady coming up next to us, and we're going down the road, and my dad calls me from the back, come here, come here. And I'll go up to the front and he goes, look at that lady. And I'm like, for what? I'm a little kid, I don't know. But what was, the lady was next to us, and she was, you know, like all waving and all happy, like, you know, she would whatever. But to me, I kind of saw the difference in between. But that's what him and he was taught with all his friends. Right. It was like 4 or 5 guys in the truck, and they were all like looking at her. So but you can see the difference. But you know, and that's just the lifestyle that I was around when I was around my dad. But when I was around my grandpa, different type. So, you know what I mean? So then you see the difference in people. You also see the difference. And like I said, I don't talk bad about my dad either, you know, I'm just saying that's what he was taught. So that's what he knew. You know what I mean? So you don't hold it against him because, you know, man, I see women look at guys all the time. So my mama might be looking at guys. I don't know. You know, but my mama ain't going to tell me, hey, Rick, look at this guy. Right, you know, but you get what I'm saying. And it's okay to look. To me, I always tell everybody, hey, if you're going to look, that's fine. But don't do anything stupid. Don't go out there and do the wrong thing, you know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, you still got to be held accountable for it. So I always tell people, just don't get caught staring, you know, because when you gaze for too long, you know, that's where thoughts come in and things happen. Exactly, man. So, you know, it's a quick glance, you know, it's natural to find other people attractive, you know, of both genders, you know, like, man, you know,
I'm not afraid to admit if a guy, is, looks handsome and he's a good looking guy, and so like my wife and I, we'll acknowledge, when we see like nice looking people or whatever, to each other. So yeah, it's just like the danger is in like getting caught staring, for too long.
But you got to remember what we talked about last night. We talked about how you have Jesus in you. That Holy Spirit, that spirit inside of you sometimes draws people to see you.
Yeah.
And sometimes, so it's gonna happen. So it's not really like you're lusting or
right.
You're like looking after them like you want them or whatever. You're kind of like, man, that person's different.
Yep.
I mean, that's good. Man, and you can tell, like you said, you can tell with me. I was able to tell on you, when we were out there working out. And, and stuff. That's just like we talked about the spirits. But we have the same spirit, we're going to understand each other.
Right, yeah.
When you have somebody that doesn't understand or they're not moving in the spirit of God, then sometimes you can see the difference. And you don't want to get caught up in that other spirit that way.
Yeah, for sure.
One thing that my wife told me recently was my wife had I had a friend named Patty. And Patty did have addiction and drugs and things like that. She'd been in prison, out of prison and stuff like that. And, excuse me. So my wife would always pray for her, like, hey, God, I really want you to help her and stuff like that. So we were always praying for her and stuff. But one thing that she always said is that, Christina, if I want to find drugs, because her mom wanted her to move out of town. And she told her mom, if I move out of town, it doesn't matter. If I want to find drugs, I'm going to find drugs. Yeah. Because I have a certain spirit that wants drugs. There's other people. I know who they are just by being around them. What she's saying is that same spirit's going to catch. You're going to find that same spirit no matter what. Yeah. And, but I remember just my wife telling me that, and I know we were talking about this. That's kind of one of those things that happens,
Yeah.
But
those familiar spirits will gravitate towards each other. Yes. And plus, there's dope dealers in every area code too. So right. You can't avoid it, man. So I wanted to bring up one of the stories that you shared with me that was very impactful because I could relate so much to it. And it was, from your childhood too, that you struggled with a medical condition. Can you talk a little bit about that, share about that experience, what it was like for you? Yeah.
So I remember being real little and so my mom, I remember her just telling me that when I was born, my mom had asthma. So when she was pregnant, I was at birth. When she was having me, whatever. She had an asthma attack, and they said basically that from that day on, I had asthma from that day. I don't know if there was something that just, I always go back and think that it's probably something from the family that just keeps coming on. Hereditary, yes, for everybody, and so my daughters have it too. So. Oh, okay. But so I've had asthma, and so when I was little, I had it real bad, and so there was a couple of times where I was at an emergency room, having them giving me shots and stuff like that. And I think I told you the story about that time Mom almost died. That's the one you're talking about? Yeah. Well, I remember that night I was at home and I couldn't breathe, and so. My mom says, hey, let's take him to the hospital. We're on our way to the hospital. And I remember being in the back of the car. And I think this is the same story that I told you where, because I have a whole bunch of different stories, but I think this is the story we talked about where I was in the car and I think I told you I was basically, my lips were already turning blue and stuff. So I remember being in the back of the car and my dad was driving with the emergency lights on the way to Sugar Land. And they were taking me up there, and my mom's like, his lips are turning blue, and then she was telling me, Mijo, breathe, and I remember just like, I can't, and I remember telling her all this stuff, and I remember just like, felt like I wasn't breathing, and then she's like, God, please, God, save my son. Wow. And I remember just looking at her, and I'm thinking like, but I remember next thing, we were at the hospital, and they were giving me shots on each arm. They gave me a steroid shot on one arm, and then they went to the other side. So I think I got like 8 shots. And finally, everything got back to normal. Had me on oxygen and stuff like that. But that's the story you're talking about, right? Yeah. So
how old were you? Do you remember about how old you were?
I don't. I was probably like 6 years old.
Yeah, it's crazy how, our memories, our childhood memories, that exist are usually from those, like an experience, an enjoyable experience or something traumatic. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And the reason I brought that up is because when you shared that with me, I was like, no way, bro. Like, because I had asthma as a child too. That was something else that we found out that we shared in common. And, almost like how you described. I didn't have the basic asthma where, they prescribe you an inhaler and, once you have an attack, you suck on the inhaler and you're good. I remember every episode that I had was pretty dramatic, and I had to go to the hospital and they had to put me on the breathing machine. Yeah. It was like pretty severe. And when you described that, I remember many trips that like my parents had to make with me, because of that condition, and it just kind of took me back there.
Yeah. Well, I always go back and I recently we were watching a video and it was like a documentary of different people that had died and stuff, and then a lot of people got saved. Mm-hmm. And so I always tell my wife, it was her time, it wasn't his time.
Yeah.
And then so I think about myself on that incident that happened back when I was 6 years old, maybe.
Yeah.
I go back and I say it wasn't my time.
Yeah.
One day it will be my time.
Right.
And when that happens, I got to be ready.
Yeah.
And that's why I do pray, and that's why I always, I put God first, because I think I've told you too that, in my lifetime, me and my wife's had three, I can't say me, my wife's had 3 miscarriages, but it still affected me just like it did her.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
I always tell my wife, hey, I got to make it to heaven to see my kids. You know what I mean? And that's one thing that I know, and I always tell my wife, I don't know why that happened, but it just wasn't their time. It's their time to go. It's not their time to be here.
Right. Yeah.
And I think about those things sometimes, and I know you probably think about like, hey, when you had these asthma attacks, anything could have happened to you too.
Yeah.
I remember we were poor when we were growing up, and so we didn't have a lifestyle like I have now, and and where I have benefits from work where I can just go to the hospital or whatever. For sure. We didn't have all that, so I remember just my mom buying the Primatine Mist. You remember that?
Yeah.
So and I think they still sell it now because I saw commercials at it. But I used to use that whole bottle in one night.
Yeah.
Just roll up on the bottle on the floor, and just every time I felt like I was just puff it. Yeah. Puff it again. And
speaking of that, I even remember like having some guilt because I would see the hospital bills rolling in, from the visits that we had to make, to treat, my condition, and I felt bad that like, because we couldn't afford that stuff. And we, the same with us, like, we didn't have insurance or, and like for some reason, even though we had a big family and like we were low income, like every time we tried to like file for Medicaid or any kind of government assistance, we just never got approved.
Right. And
and back then they would, the hospitals, I guess the local hospitals would just take you in and treat you and then like send you the bill later. Yeah. But I just remember collections bills showing up like, because we couldn't pay that off, man. And and so like, I remember like even feeling like guilt, over that, like, it was my fault, that I had that condition. And,
I think I shared with you that, like I told you, I had my grandparents from my mom's side and I have my grandparents from my dad's side. And I didn't find this out till I didn't find this out until a whole lot later. Uh-huh. And I think I shared with you where my dad went to go ask his dad for some money. Mm-hmm. And his dad goes, that disease is not from us. That's from the other family. You ask them for the money.
Oh, wow.
And that's why I said, hey, I got real close to my mom's side and my dad's side because of some stuff that I ended up finding out later on.
Oh, man.
I forgave him. I don't care about that. Yeah. That's not something, but people would sit there and be like upset, and I'm like, man, I don't care,
Yeah, but it's crazy. Like, who tells a child that,
Well, they didn't tell me that. Well, I found out as I grew up.
Yeah, when you got older. Yeah.
So. I remember who told me. Somebody just came and told me, hey, did you ever know that Grandpa said this? I think it was my sister told me this. And I'm like, no. I said, well, it don't matter anymore.
Yeah.
Like, that was like 20 years ago.
Yeah, it's irrelevant now. Yeah, so puro chisme.
Yeah. Hey, I try not to get into none of that stuff.
Yeah, for sure, man.
But so I think I also told you about, the way the lifestyles of the. So it was way different stuff. And so my Uncle John, he had asthma too, and so my Uncle John used to be a barber, and we talked about that a little bit. But he used to be a barber, and so that's another reason why I also. Things that I do now because of him too. And then my other uncle was in my life, and that's my mom's side. So My mom's side of the family were a little different, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And they really cared, and they really supported me and tried to push me to do certain things. And then like my dad's side, like I said, I ended up finding out the stuff that he said. They were different. They didn't really care. It's like whatever, you know. So there was no more. To me, I felt like there was no support.
Yeah.
I had one uncle that did support me. His name was Manuel Lerma. He's my dad's older brother or younger brother. I think his younger brother.
Mm-hmm.
So he tried to get in my life for a little while because he wanted me to play an instrument, a bass guitar.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I learned for a little while, and then my dad got jealous and told me I had to stop going. But anyway, so that's a totally different story.
Yeah. No, but going back to the story about like you guys rush into the hospital, like it's interesting that although your parents weren't like in church or believers, that your mom.
Well,
like,
I think she knew, you know what I mean, because of my grandpa.
Right, and she knew who to call out to, you know. But the Lord heard her despair, you know, her cry, you know, and the same with me, man. Like, you know, if it wasn't for, you know, growing up the way we did in church and like my mom being a God-fearing woman, man, and, you know, just praying for that, you know, healing and stuff, like, man, because it was like when you told me that story, bro, it like, you know, it kind of like hit different, man. I was like, it took me back.
Well, I think I told you about the doctors came up to mom and told mom, hey, you know, we want to do some studies and we want to use your son as a, to me, I felt like a dummy, you know what I mean? Like
guinea pig.
Guinea pig.
Yeah.
And they wanted to do a lung transplant.
Wow.
I think I told you about that, didn't I?
I don't know if you told me that part.
Yeah, they wanted, and my mom was going to do it. And I'm glad she didn't because I don't know what would have happened, you know?
Oh, man.
So, but it didn't happen.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that it did because, you know, now back then, you know, I don't even think they even did that back then.
I know.
Yeah, so, but they wanted to, you know, I could have died. I don't know, but
that
like
sounds pretty extreme, you know, like for back then.
Well,
you know?
I had it pretty bad. Yeah. So, but I do believe a lot of that had to do with my allergies.
Yeah.
So I think I told you about my allergies. I had real bad allergies too. And then I think about 10 years ago, or maybe 7 years ago, we went to go get allergy tested. Mm-hmm. And they said I'm allergic to everything outside. Anything you could think of, I was allergic to, right?
Yeah.
So the only thing I wasn't allergic to was pine trees. And I didn't understand that. But anyway, so so I went through the shots. So I was getting 3 shots every day. For the first, I think, month I did it every day. And then after that, I went to every week and then so on and so on. So I did it for 5 years. But I realized that, hey, while I was taking these shots, everything started changing inside my body. Mm. And I think it was a lot to do with the allergies that was causing my asthma back in the days. And I think that's what it was. And we never got checked. I never got checked out for that. And I think that was the thing that was causing me to have real bad. I was allergic to everything outside. Yeah. And I wanted to play outside. So I think that's what was causing and triggering the asthma to act up.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah.
But I'm not a doctor. I'm not a professional in that field, so I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, but I know I went to a doctor one time. I had like another thing that happened to I had like a spot in my lung. Uh-huh. Started seeing a specialist, and come to find out it was a fungus. And I always go back and say it was probably from all the pot that I smoked. And you know, 'cause I smoke pot.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But eventually they gave me some pills and it went away. But I went to a doctor for like 10 years to diagnose me with that fungus in my lung, and he kept giving me the steroids to get rid of it, and it never went away. But that's when I started. Basically, after that, I started going to the allergy doctor. But I think all that had to happen for me to figure out that, hey, I was allergic to everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, and so, but that doctor that I'm telling you about. I went up to him. Well, actually, it was Dr. Chow, and then I went to Dr. Chow. So Dr. Chow told me, hey, you know your body more than anybody else. He goes, so your body tells you what you need and what you don't need. Mm-hmm. And I remember looking at him, I'm like, okay. And then so he wanted to continue to give me the steroid. And I said, hey, man, I don't want that steroid no more.
Yeah.
He goes, you don't? I said, no, it's not working. I said, why am I going to continue to do this for 10 years? And I said, my life's been miserable. I cry when I said, I'm emotional. I cry for no reason.
Oh, wow.
I said, I'm always hungry. I said, I used to weigh 125, 130. I'm at 205 now. I said, man,
oh, wow.
I gained so much weight. And I told him, I said, I don't like this. I said, I don't feel good. He said, what do you want to do? I said, I'd rather take a pill to see if we can get rid of this.
Yeah.
He goes, what kind of pill do you want to take? I said, I don't know. I said, I got a fungus, maybe a fungus pill. Well, he gave me a antifungal pill. Mm-hmm. It was done. It went away in a month.
Oh, wow.
But
That's crazy.
but by him telling me that, it's crazy that that actually happened. You get what I'm saying? But when he told me that, it kind of made me start thinking like, you know your body more than anybody else. If your body's hurting, well, try to figure out if you go to a doctor and doctor say, well, you know, there's nothing wrong, and you know you're hurting, there's something wrong. Go to see another doctor. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. But you know, I don't know how we got on that topic. But anyway.
No, we're just talking about the medical conditions that we dealt with. But so like you mentioned smoking pot, like, you know.
Oh, there we go with that.
Like what, you know, did you get heavy into drugs, or at what age did you start experimenting, like, you know, with pot and like, you know, did you have that those like troubled teen years, or like
I did man.
Just running around with the wrong crowd, or
I did.
You know?
I actually started for a little while. I actually sold crack.
Oh wow!
I was a pusher for a little while. There's a lot of things that you know, working for my uncle at the audio shop that I think I kind of mentioned to you a while back. I met I was around a lot of different people, and I met a lot of people, and I would do a lot of side jobs, and then me being around all these people, they put things in your mind. They kind of say, "Hey, man, you can make a lot more money, you know, doing this." And so then I would smoke pot, but I would sell crack, and for a little while, and I was still working in my uncle's shop and doing things, and so I was actually going down the wrong path, and it got to a point where I started selling to my own family members.
Oh wow!
And that's what made me change. Like one day, I just snapped. Like, man, what am I doing? My uncle kind of broke into my house, stole a TV, stole some crack, and so on and so on. But you know, and it got to a point where I was like, man, what am I doing? And so I said, no more. And then a little after that, that's when I started meeting Christ, and my life started changing. But you know, throughout my life, man, I think I've told you where I remember being at different stores and places like that where, you know, people would hand out tracks, you know what I mean? And I think I told you that, man, sometimes people will have one track left and I'll be putting gas, and then I'm walking in and they would just wait for me to come up to them, and they would tell me.
That last one was for you.
Yeah, and I'm like, man, I don't need that. I don't got no money. I thought they was always wanted some money, but what it was is they were telling me every time, no lie, hey, man, we don't need nothing. God wants to tell you he loves you. And so they would tell me all the time. I'm like, man, I would grab stuff sometimes, throw it on the ground or put it in my pocket and walk off. And I'll be pissed off. Like they were attacking me, but they were actually telling me that God was loving me. And I didn't even know, you know what I mean? And so, but I remember just doing, that's all around that same time. You know what I mean? There was a lot of stuff that I can say that if you would know me back then, you would have seen I was going down the wrong path. You know? And in that little time too, almost lost my wife. You know, we already had our daughter, Karina, and I remember my wife praying to God too and saying, "I'm done. Don't want to do with this man no more." And I think I told you, hey, I want her to be one day maybe we can be on together on one of the shows, so she can give her side of the story, because I might say this totally wrong, but.
So at what point did you and Christina, that's your wife, Christina, like when did you guys meet? Like how old were you guys? Were you guys teenagers? Or?
Yeah, my wife was actually 13 when I met her.
Okay.
And I was 17.
Y'all just met at school or something? Or?
Nah, it's a funny story too, but on the phone.
Okay.
So my cousin, his name's Jesse. He was like my brother basically. We hung out all the time. I was at his house, and you remember that game Mortal Kombat?
Oh yeah.
So you know, I'm 17. I'm still in high school. You know, so we're at his house playing that game. You know, I think it's Nintendo. I guess it was Nintendo. Yeah, we were playing Mortal Kombat and stuff. And I remember he getting on the phone and he was talking to somebody, and all I remember is I was playing and I was getting down. I was beating everybody. I was getting down. But anyway,
that was your jam.
Yeah. Anyway, I hear him tell her, "Oh, you probably don't like me anyway. Everybody likes my cousin. You talk to him." So he throws the phone at me and I grab it. I'm like, "Who is it?" "Some girl named Christina." I was like, all right. So I got on the phone and we start talking. And I don't know, we kind of kicked it off. It was pretty cool. And then so I met her cousin. So I met her on the phone, Christina. And this was after after I met her cousin. So her cousin, Sheila, went out on a date with my cousin Jesse, and Sheila and Jesse, we went to the fair. Well, I met Sheila, and then after I found out afterwards that while we were at the fair that night, she went home and called my wife Christina. She goes, "I met the perfect guy for you."
Oh wow! So she went back and played matchmaker.
She said, "Well, She didn't. Well, my wife told
Sheila,
hey, is it Jess's cousin? And then she's like, yeah, or a friend or something. And she goes, yeah. So I don't want nothing to do with that guy. But then a couple of days later, I talked to her on the phone.
Yeah.
So it was like something that was supposed to happen. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I got you.
And so, me and my wife ended up meeting at a park a couple of days later on.
Yeah.
And, almost missed her too because they were waiting for me at the park. Mm-hmm. And then she ended up, it was taking me all day to get there. I was working and stuff, and then I went home to take a shower. And then by the time I got there, they were already leaving home.
Yeah.
Well, I drove around the corner in my car, and they were at the park. And keep in mind, they were all, at that time, so they're 13, 14 years old, the girls.
Yeah.
I'm 17, I'm already driving, and then my cousin, I think he's 18. Mm-hmm. I didn't know how old they were. We didn't know exactly how old they were. We never talked about age.
Yeah.
And anyway, we ended up talking and stuff, and then I ended up meeting her, and then her cousin, Sheila, says, that's the guy I was talking about. You know what I mean? So it was after she told my wife, hey, I've been the perfect guy for you. Yeah. And she goes, I want to do with them. And then she talks to me, and then she ended up liking me. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I think it was all part of God's plan.
Yeah. So whenever you guys met, you must have had a reputation about you because, she said, like, that was her first reaction. Like, I don't want nothing to do with him.
Who?
Like Christina, right?
No, she didn't know me, but she was saying it. The reason why she was saying this is because she didn't think my cousin Jesse was attractive.
Oh, okay.
So she thought if I was his cousin,
then you weren't gonna be
attractive. And not to be mean, but I think that's what she meant. I might be saying it wrong.
No. I follow you now. Okay. So you guys meet, and eventually start dating. Yeah. Were you like wilding out at that time already? You were like getting into trouble and stuff?
I was still in high school, so I hadn't really been on pot a whole lot or anything like that. Yeah. But after I met her, I think closer to 18, I started, I got introduced to pot. And so around that time too, that's when I started going and doing dumb stuff too out there with them other guys I met and stuff too. So it all happened within a year, I think. Okay. I'm gonna say a year time frame.
And so kind of getting back to your daughter, so your wife got pregnant.
Eventually, after she 3 years later.
Yeah. So and then like you said, there was complications, or that you guys thought that you were gonna lose.
No, not the first one.
Okay.
The second one, the doctors did tell us that she had a heart problem.
Okay.
Or something. Something was wrong.
Okay.
And I always go back and say, the enemy wanted to get rid of her. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I say that is because that's the one that got pregnant at a young age too.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then my granddaughter now, Isabella, when they found out that Selena was pregnant, I had people tell me, what is she going to do? She's a little kid. She can't have another kid. Yeah. They wanted her to abort it. But I'm like, man, you're crazy. What here? And that's why I said, hey, God had a plan.
Right.
And that stuff wouldn't have happened if God didn't have a plan for Isabella. You get what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
Because they wanted me to get rid of my daughter first. So if you go back and do the different stuff that happened, Isabella probably wouldn't be here. Yeah. My daughter Selena probably wouldn't be here. But at the end of the day, I think Bella's supposed to be here. And, my daughter's supposed to be here. Of course. God, these are all God's plans.
Yeah.
I don't know what God has in store for Isabella, but I always say, hey, Bella has God has big plans for her.
So going back to your firstborn, when you guys, found out that your wife was pregnant with her, so you guys were still young, right? She was 16, and how old were you? Like, 19?
Going on 19.
So how was that? Like, finding out that you guys were going to have a baby, being that young, that you were going to become young parents?
And, you're that age, you don't care. You're
right.
Like, whatever.
You just figure it out.
Yeah, we figured it out. And that's the thing that we tell a lot of people, because everybody always says, hey, we got to keep saving money, keep doing this. Yeah. And I always tell everybody, you keep doing it. You're never going to have enough money. You better just get busy and just do it, but
people are quick to start giving advice, making it sound
the older you get, you think about a lot more stuff. Think about the stuff you think about now. Mm-hmm. back then you wouldn't even care.
And times were different too back then. So did you guys get any pressure to like, abort the
no, actually,
I'm
gonna tell you what actually helped us out. My mom kind of supported us a little bit. Her mom did too a little bit. But there was some times where they were also tough on us. Yeah. So like if we wanted to do something, I remember when we first had our first daughter, I think her mom said, well, that's your kid, you take care of her. You know what I mean? And so a lot of parents, they want to be around their grandchildren. Right. You know what I mean? So I think it was, so also my mother-in-law had a baby the same time we had our baby. So I think Katie's 1 year older than Karina. So I can't remember the age. But anyway, Katie is my sister-in-law. She's, I think, 1 year older than my oldest daughter. Oh, okay. So they grew up together. Oh, wow. So, but, my mother-in-law had her hands full with her own baby. Yeah, so that's true. She didn't want to have to take care of our baby. Right. So we kind of had to do our own thing. We never asked nobody for help. I know her mom helped us a little bit, and then my mom helped. But one of the persons that helped us quite a bit more than a lot of people think is one of my aunts. She lived next door to us, and she would bring us food when my wife was... After we first had our baby, she'd bring my wife food, and my wife was struggling with some stuff. And I think God used her to help us and stuff too, because, we needed somebody. But I think I've told you different stories and stuff that we lived just basically paycheck to paycheck for years. Praying to God to bring us some toilet paper, and then toilet paper showed up in the mailbox the next day. One little roll, like a sample, stuff like that, shampoo, things like that. But hey, God was always doing stuff for us. But our middle daughter is the one that kind of was a little bit more because of what they were saying, doctors were saying about her heart and stuff. Right, yeah. But,
so you said you, I guess, got into church because of your wife?
I did.
Okay, so where did that take place? Like, did she have a background in church, like growing up in church? Was she a church girl?
Yeah, so what I'll say this is... when my wife, I would like for my wife to tell the story one day. Right. But I'm gonna give you what I kind of.
I guess I'm just trying to get to your personal encounter with God, how you came to the Lord. Okay.
Well, my wife, her background kind of wasn't like full-time church, but they did go to church a little bit. Okay. And then they stopped, and then they moved to a neighborhood, and then when they moved to that neighborhood, our old church, Cornerstone Ministries, where I told you I learned a lot. Yeah. Their pastors there were actually her youth pastors. And that's how she started following God, because of them. Oh, okay. She hung around with their kids. Yeah. And they lived next door in this neighborhood in Rosenberg, and they ended up getting close, and that's how she started going to church. Well, she got away from it for a long time, and then when we had our first baby, Karina, my wife ended up going over there, and my daughter got baptized through the church there. And so my wife started going back to that church. Oh, okay. And I remember, so I'll tell you a little story of what was happening while she was going to church. So we were already living together. She was going to church, to Cornerstone already. And what I was doing while she was in church, I was playing basketball. And I was big on basketball. I had, and I think I told Josh that I was in a car club. And so we were in this car club called Another Level. And so we used to race our cars, and we had little Hondas and stuff like that. And so that was my main thing. My car was number one. My wife would tell you I love that car. I would wash it every weekend, go hang out with the guys, do a freaking rebuild or engine or whatever we had to do to get a car ready for the next day or whatever. So while she was in church, I was playing basketball with those guys at a church. Oh, wow. There was a church in Rosenberg that had a basketball goal. So we would go there and play while people were inside the church have church. My wife was way in Richmond. We were in Rosenberg, they were in Richmond. She was going to church in Cornerstone with her old junior youth pastors. Yeah. And so she would go to church. I would play basketball and smoke pot. That's what I was doing. Oh, wow. So it got to a point where I was getting home at 9 o'clock. She wasn't getting home yet. I was like, hey, man, what's going on here? Did she find another guy or something? So I remember just thinking that. And so she got home and said, where you been? At church. I said, what's going on? Who you over there seeing? She's laughing like, she She goes, and whatever, And so in my mind, thinking, she might be another guy. So I'm gonna go to find out what's going on.
Yeah.
So I ended up going to the church, and that's how it kind of started. Where I went to go visit.
Yeah.
And first time I've been there, and I told you it's kind of Pentecostal, so they were kind of loud and going crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was in the very back, and I told my wife, "Man, these people are crazy. I ain't ever coming to the church again." And my wife would laugh, and she's like, "Whatever." So she didn't really say anything. So one night. We were talking again, and she was like, "I don't care." She looked at me, "I don't care. You're going to go to church no matter what you say." And I was like, "This man, you stupid." And I kind of just went off on her, But, hey, she spoke that stuff in me because after that, I went back and visited again.
Uh-huh.
And I don't think I ever turned back again. And then I told Josh about one night I was praying, and I remember just feeling God was telling me I had to pick between church, being in that community, or being in another level community. I had to choose.
Yeah.
And at first, and I chose the church community.
Right.
I lost everybody from another level. Basically, you kind of lose, your friends. You don't really lose them, but they just don't hang out no more.
Right. Yeah.
Because you're different. You become different.
Yep.
And I remember that happening. And at one point, I remember thinking, man, did I choose wrong? But I tell them now, I know I didn't.
Yeah.
I made the best choice I ever made in my life at that time. Yeah. And that's how I started serving God. But I remember having just going to church and just being around the people there, and the stuff that I would ask God, and then the things that would come, like people would come up to me and tell me or give me an answer that only God can do. No, I didn't talk to that person. That person would come and tell me, "Hey, God says this," and I'm like thinking, "I didn't know that," or "How did she know that?" You know what I'm saying? So that's how I started finding out, hey, God was real. Yeah. But I always tell everybody, hey, you can't go off of what I'm telling you. You gotta go off and go feel it for yourself, or go do your own thing there at church and find out that information. Like I went and did it for myself and got my own experience of it. Right. You gotta go do that too. I tell everybody. So, but that's how I started going to church. Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm reminded of like how the scripture says, "Work out your own salvation with fear and trembling." And it sounds like you had that turning point in your life, where you had to make a choice. It's kind of like when Joshua told the people of Israel, like, choose you this day who you're going to serve, and he made the choice right there. He declared it, like, as for me and my house, we're going to serve the Lord. That's right. And we all get to that point, man. And we're like, we see it all along through our life. Like you said, like you can remember that God, was trying to get your attention at different like times in your life, but we just ignore it. We ignore it. That's right. But we all get to that turning point where like, hey, it's serious this time. And you're either going to follow or, hey, you're going to make it hard on yourself. That's right. So, it sounds like that turning point happened, where you had to make a choice. It's almost like, the car club was your idol. My car was my idol. Yeah. I'm not the car club. It was more my car. Yeah. And your involvement in it. Yes, yes. And so, yes, I did put a lot of, I guess you're right. I did put a lot of that, put that first more than anything else. And so maybe it did become like an idol. I guess you can't say that, yeah. And it's almost like when you got to that turning point, the Lord, put you to that test. Like, what are you going to choose right now? And I think that's for a lot of us, it comes down to that. Yeah. When we, encounter God. Yeah. Is he puts us to the test, over the things that we cherish the most. That's right. And whether we'll choose that or we'll choose to follow him. And yeah, man. And it, like you described, like, man, you lose, people that you thought were friends, but it turns out that they were just acquaintances, Yeah. And, well, a lot of them were family members, like my brother-in-law, Drigo, my brother-in-law, Raymond. Yeah. My sisters, they're all in the car club too. Yeah, so yeah. You kind of look at that and you're like, man. But you look at them now. We're like I told you from the very beginning. My sisters and me are real close. We don't talk every day. Yeah. But Mother's Day, birthdays, I don't want. You see a lot of families that have disagreements and then they're mad at each other. Yeah. I don't want that for my sisters. I don't want that with my mom and dad. Yeah. Things that happened in the past, if we did wrong. I know I changed a lot to make myself better. Because I used to be kind of hard on I would just say in things that just pop into my mind. And then people would get their feelings hurt. Yeah. But it's because I would always say, well, our old pastor's wife, a pastor's wife, she used to always say, I'd rather you me be honest with you and you hate me, and then for me to be lie to you and you love me. And so, but that's how I kind of just spoke whatever came to my mind, and I felt like, well, shoot, I'm just being honest. I don't know why they gotta get mad.
Yeah.
But honestly, there's a right way of doing it and a wrong way of doing it. And so back then I used to do a lot of things in the wrong way. I didn't know how to talk to a lot of people. I would just say dumb stuff. And I think, but once I fixed that, I think our relationship is real. I'd say my relationship with my family is really good. I don't think we really have any beef or anything that I can say that would they'll be mad at me about. You know what I mean? So
yeah. So tell about like when you made that choice to follow after God, like. So, you were involved, you were into your car, the car club. Were you like still kind of living that lifestyle, like, smoking pot? Like, did you instantly did God deliver you from those things, that lifestyle, and you just immediately just started living for him? Or was that a process for you?
Well, you got to remember everything's a choice. And once you start making better choices and you do start reading the word. Yeah. Being around people that know the word, well, the way you think they start changing too. So, and I told you the scripture that I've been meditating on this week. Is when I was a child, I act like a child. I became a man. I put a lot of things away. Right. The reason as a child, I don't remember exactly the exact words, but it's kind of the same. And I remember, but that's when you look back. That's what I did. I did away with the childish things. The way I thought was like, hey, this is very important, and then I got to be around this and be around that. But then when you start looking back, and the choices I made, like, I wanted a good job. If I had a good job, I can't smoke weed. I want to have things for my family. I can't smoke weed. Those thoughts start coming through your mind, but it's a choice you actually have to make. Say, hey, what do you want? You want a better life? Or do you want to continue to live the life you live? Or do you want life the way your parents lived? Do you want life the way, so on and so on, say you're going to live? And like I told you, when people sit there and they told me certain things, sometimes I took it as a challenge. I got to prove that person wrong. You know what I mean? And that was something that motivated me sometimes, or, or if somebody said, hey, you can't do this. Well, then sometimes in my mind, I would think I can't. Right. Yeah. But I hardly had anybody tell me that I can't do nothing, because they knew that if they told me that, I was going to try to do it no matter what. So normally somebody would say something in a sense of where you'll never accomplish it. Instead of saying I can't, they would say that, and then I would show them that I could. You know what I mean? So so
I brought that up about the process that we go through, the transformation, that it doesn't happen overnight. And I think, for those listeners that have been, struggling with the thought of like, or wanting to get closer to God, but, a lot of times we make the mistake like thinking that we want to polish up our lifestyle before we, we start like that. We have to clean ourselves up, clean our act up before we start like following after God. And that's not the case. No, sir. He's the one that does the work in us, and it's just, it's our job to just, like take the first step, and so, that's why I asked, what, because, the enemy will convince us that we're not good enough, or try to like, keep us bound from making the decision to go, to live for God. And so
I do think you have to forgive yourself from everything that you have done. I know we always ask God to forgive us. Right. And once you give your life to, to Christ, and you admit that you are a sinner. And, basically you become, you do the salvation prayer, and then basically but you also got to forgive yourself, because if you don't, those thoughts will continue to remind you of what you did in the past. But if you sit there and say, hey, I forgive myself too, you ain't got to worry about it, because that means that, hey, I'm done. No matter what I did in the past, I was forgiven. Not only does God forgive me, I forgive myself. Right. Because if you don't forgive yourself, you're going to hold yourself in bondage. You're going to sit there and think about things. Well, what if this comes up one day? Maybe you did something horribly wrong and nobody knows about it. If it comes up, well, you deal with it at the time. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, because it's never going to get you nowhere. But you're right. It is a process, and I have friends that I have talked to recently that said, that I say, Because what happens is when you give yourself to the Lord, you got to, and that's why I'm saying you got to forgive yourself, because if you don't, you're going to continue to sin or continue to do things that you're not supposed to do. We're all going to fall short no matter what.
Yeah.
And you got to remember that. But I always tell everybody, when you forgive yourself, it's easier for you to say, hey, it's okay because I did it, and then I know God's forgiven me.
Yeah.
I don't have to do it no more. And if you do something, it's a process. Get back up, keep going and moving forward. If you don't, you're going to stay where you are. Your life is going to continue to do the same, running that same cycle that you had before.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but you are right, it's a process. And I do tell a lot of guys, hey, it's not going to be easy tomorrow.
Yeah.
It might even be harder tomorrow.
Right.
But keep continue to going, because the next day it might be a little easier or it might be a little harder.
Yeah.
But eventually going to become easier for you. I said, but you got to get through it.
Right.
And and the Bible says we got to go through it. The only way we can grow is we go through it. If we don't sit there and go through it, we stay there, we don't learn anything.
Yeah.
But if you sit there and you go through it, you learn. Either you're not going to do it again, and if you did do it again, you're going to be like, oh, I messed up again. Dang it, let me start the process again.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, God forgives you no matter what.
Right. Yeah. So, you have that turning point and you start living for God, and, you guys are young parents, and trying to manage through that situation. And by this time you have, both your daughters already? Like, are they both born, or like,
when I started serving God?
Yeah, when you start living for God,
So I had both daughters.
You already had both your daughters?
Yeah.
So you guys had gotten through that hardship with your second daughter's medical condition?
We were already serving God.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so then did you immediately see God begin to honor, your decision to follow after him? And because obviously you were still in the struggle, when did you start seeing God begin to bless your life, and
honestly?
Yeah.
When I started asking him to come into my life. When I actually told him, and I'm going to give you an example. I remember being at church one day, my head down like this, and I said, God, I see, and people say that they get drunk in the spirit. And then I said, I want to be drunk. That's at church. And then this is exactly what came out of that. Pastor's wife went walked straight up to the altar, and she goes, Manuel. And I look up, she goes, come here. It's got to be God, because this is what she said. God said, you want to be drunk in the spirit. And I look at her and I go, well, the bar's open.
Oh, wow.
And so I'm going to tell you what happened. I got drunk. I was dancing all over the floor, all over right in the front. And so I could hear everything that was going on.
Yeah.
But I couldn't control my body, so I thought it was crazy, right?
Yeah.
I was still a baby Christian, I guess you could say, maybe a fourth time being at the church.
Yeah.
But everybody's always talking about this, talking about that. So I like, well, if it's really real,
I want
to try it.
Yeah.
And so that's when I started saying and seeing the blessings of God come through, because I was willing to be open to him and ask him for it. If you don't open yourself to him, he can't do nothing. And I think that's where it starts. You, as a person, have to do that.
Yeah.
And I did that.
Wow.
Well, that morning, I was so embarrassed because I told my wife I looked dumb up there. And these are the thoughts that were going through my head because the enemy got a control of it. It was attacking me at the same time. Because I'm still a baby Christian.
Right.
So I still have those negative thoughts. And so I ain't going to church tonight. I'm not going, man. People laughed at me and all this stuff. And so people were actually laughing. They were like, hallelujah.
They were rejoicing with you. Yeah.
And they were laughing, but happy.
Yeah.
Because I was changing.
Right.
I was getting fed. I was actually going to
experiencing God, his power.
Yes. And so that night I didn't go back. And my wife came home that night. She goes, hey, I want you to know that everybody that was laughing this morning, they were dancing out there this morning. I mean, just at tonight too. So basically what happened that night, my wife said it was crazy because God came in and boom, everybody was in there. They said they didn't even preach. It was nothing but dancing and praising.
Shut it down, yeah.
And she says, and so I looked at it as like, man, So the following Sunday, I went back to church.
Yeah. Thinking
like, okay. But then you asked another question. Like I went back and I said, hey, God, this. And I said, I want to see, every time I went, I would go and I would pray, God, let something happen today that has never happened before. And then, boom, everybody starts dancing. the music goes off. And then the praise music goes on.
Yeah.
They bring a thing where they says I can't remember that exact song, but basically everybody's going in circles, right?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, and so we're getting filled with the Spirit, basically. Everybody is. And so then I'm like, well, this is something new that I've never seen before. So then I kept asking them and doing things, and then and I think I told you about the job that I ended up getting in Austin. I left my uncle's shop and went to Austin.
Yeah.
But I never knew that I was gonna get that job, because I remember my wife telling me. My wife had told me, I think 2 weeks before that she hates me being gone. She wants me to be around. So when they offered me that job, I said, nah, Mars. Because this guy, Mars, offered me this job. And I said, man, I can't do that. My wife will never let me leave.
Yeah.
And then that night I told my wife about it. And she tells me, go. And so she was pregnant with my son.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, are you serious? She goes, yeah. So I left for 6 months to work in Austin, but I would come home every weekend.
Yeah.
But I saw God working in us. When I was up there, I saw guys. Yeah. And I saw bad things happen too, throughout this transaction, where the guys that were like supposed to be more stronger in the word and stuff, where they went to Austin and they fell short and they backslided.
Yeah.
And, when they came back after 6 months, they were getting divorced. So I saw a lot of stuff, like good and bad. Yeah. But what I did, I chose to change and say, hey, I'm not going to go down that path. Right. So when they were talking about like all these guys in Austin are doing bad, I started going to church on Wednesdays up there. When my wife would come and visit me, that Sunday we were in church together in Austin. Yeah. When we go show up at that church, they're, hey, Manuel, how you doing? How they know my name? Because I was there. Yeah. And my wife started seeing that, like, what they're saying is not always true, because people are coming back telling her I was doing a whole bunch of bad stuff now. But did I ever do anything bad up there? Probably. There was times when I went with her dad was up there with me. Her stepdad was up there with me. We would go to the bar or whatever and stuff, but, I was still trying to get in, learn. Yeah. And so, yes, we did dumb stuff. Yes, but extremely bad like they were talking about? Nah. Yeah. What I mean? So at the end of the day, God showed himself to me, and I chose to follow God. Yeah. And that's how I started seeing that change continue to grow, me get better, stronger, him doing more in my life because I was asking him to do it. Yeah, no,
I'm, it sounds like you had that, radical personal encounter with him that, forever changed you, and you were, you weren't the same again. And I think, you can't emphasize that enough, to a new believer, that it's important that you go after God with everything, and he will reveal himself to you, right, and show you how real he is, and I think a lot of times we, as believers, we tend to settle for less, when God is inviting us to experience. It says he will take us from triumph to triumph, from glory to glory. Yes. And, so there's levels, but many times we just, stay stagnant. We just settle for less, you know what I'm saying? Right. And when he's inviting us to experience deeper levels, of who he is, and so, as you're telling that story, it's almost as if there was a meme for the scripture, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven and everything else shall be added unto you. You would be, so because it sounds like, you just put God first,
well, you have to.
You made a commitment to put God first, and then you started seeing, his blessings on your life.
Yeah, the good fruit came from it.
Yeah.
And, that's where it started, but it don't stop. Like right now, if I wanted to, I can probably start doing a whole bunch of stuff like I did back then. Mm-hmm. But like I always tell everybody, there's a season for it. Mm-hmm. People get, there's different reasons and different seasons for everything. And I believe that God might use me right now because I'm able to bless the church with financially. Yeah. One day I might not be able to do that, but God might say, hey, I need you, don't need that no more. Now I need you to be go out there and spreading the word all the time. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so to me, I feel like God uses everybody differently. Mm-hmm. And at that time, I was choosing to say, hey, no matter what, God, I'm choosing you first. Right. And God knew that. And I remember, and I think I told you last night, I think I told Jacob last night too, I remember being involved in church and just saying, hey, whatever you need, God, this 4 years for you. Every day I was doing something.
Yeah.
Somebody called, say, I need your help. Where you at? I'm going to go pick you up. And they would call and say, I need a lawn mowed. Was it one of the elders? Okay, well, what's your address? I'll be there this Saturday.
Yeah.
Hey, the lights at the church need to be changed out. Well, I'll go change them out. I did that for 4 years, and I think I remember telling you toward the end of the year, God says, good and faithful servant. You know what I mean? And I think I remember telling you that the pastor's wife came and told me that God says, hey, I have a place for you, you good and faithful servant. And I'm thinking in my head, wow, you know what I mean? Back then, you know, I was still learning, like, I know what he meant by that. Yeah. I know what he means by that. Yeah. I know exactly what he means. Yeah. And I'm not perfect. Like right now, bro, you know I've talked. Yeah. You know, I don't do everything the right way. I fall short all the time. Mm-hmm. But what I can say is that if I know today, right now, if I died, would I make it to heaven? Yes. There's no doubt in my mind. Yeah. Why? I put God first. Yeah. No matter what. Sometimes I might look and do dumb things, but my heart is always searching God. Yeah. If you were hurting today and God tells me, hey, go help Josh, I'm obedient. Yes, sir. What does he need? You ask him, what do you need, Josh? And you tell me, I'm going to do everything in my power to help you. Yeah. Because I know God's telling me. Right. So what I try to do is be obedient. Yeah. And God knows that. Yeah. You know, when David was struggle with a lot of things, you know that. Yeah. But his heart was after God. After God. And he's one of my favorite characters or whatever person in the Bible. Yeah. That even when I was at Cornerstone or other places, I love dancing for the Lord. Amen. I do. Yeah. And remember I tell you, praising him. Yeah. And not everybody's like that. Some people just sometimes just sit still. And I used to be like, you know, where I kind of question, like, man, does that guy really care about God? Or I know. But then I started thinking, like, hey, everybody's different. Maybe that person might even love God more than me. You know what I mean? I don't know. But at the end of the day, I see it as, hey, if you put God first and God sees your heart, he don't see the outer appearance, he sees your heart. Yeah. He knows exactly what you're going through, what you need. And eventually, he's going to help you as long as you allow him to get in and come in.
No, and we've been saying lately that there's a movement, you know, that's happening where God is raising up. He's looking for those people that have a heart after his own heart, like you described, like the Davids, that he's raising those type of people up, you know, in this hour, you know, to, you know, grow his kingdom, you know, to expand, you know, and carry out his plans, you know, especially as we are living, you know, so some people might say we're living in the last days, you know, the return of the Lord is upon us, is close, you know, just by looking at all the current events that are happening, you know. And so God is looking for those, you know, and while people are busy, like trying to, you know, attain all this knowledge, you know, this head knowledge, you know, God is looking at the hearts, you know, because at the end of the day, obedience is better than sacrifice, That's you right. know. And so, and he honors that. And it's, you know, you're living proof of that. And, you know, he's promoted you, you know, from where you used to be to where you are now, you know, you're doing, you know, pretty well for yourself, you know. So like now, like, you know, like what is your, like, how do you make a living? You know, what is your background, you know, like, because I know you're blessed, you know, you have a position there at your job, at your company, you know, you kind of worked your way up, you know?
Yeah, well, I'll start with that. I did not get a high school diploma.
Yeah.
And one thing that I did do is before my oldest daughter graduated, I went back and got my GED and said, none of my kids are going to say, well, you dropped out, so I'm going to drop out. Mm-hmm. I said, nah, I'm going to have to make sure I get at least either something that's equivalent to a high school diploma or something. So GED was, I always say, some people say good educated dummy. I always say God educated dummy.
There you go.
So, but you know, our pastor used to say that. So anyway, so I got my GED, and from there, but it started there because I remember always feeling like I was less than because you know I didn't have enough knowledge, and so there's that's probably the thing that affects me the most when I get around like a lot of people that are like, and I was telling Josh earlier.
George.
Yeah, George. I keep saying Josh, but George. I told George earlier that when I get around people that are educated, I like to sit it down and just listen because I learn from them.
Right.
I don't like to sit there and keep talking because I know more. I don't know more.
Right.
And I might know more in some things, but man, I love to learn and grow. And so that probably what affects me the most in my job now. So, but like you said, hey, I've gone up from basically being in the shop. I'm a diesel mechanic. Back then I used to be what do you call those people? An audio type guy. So I always did like, TV speakers, alarms, stuff like that with my uncles. And then went from there and I started working for this company called K-Tech. And that's when I went to Austin and stuff like that. Well, when up there, we did kind of more like assembly lines type of stuff, but we were considered electrical, mechanical assemblers. Mm-hmm. And so I did electrical, but also mechanical stuff. Yeah. And so it helped me to learn a lot of stuff that helps me do my job now. So even though it's different, it's just like, so my uncle's shop kind of helped me with the wiring stuff and kind of helped me with that type of stuff. And then the environment that I was, but the other place, I moved up pretty quick and I became like a supervisor out there, or I guess you could say lead man. Mm-hmm. And so I worked on a computer, learned a lot of stuff in that area there that helps me now. So, but we're coming over here to Allied Concrete that I'm at now. Actually, so we got bought out by Quick Creek now. So I started off in the bottom PM side, kind of worked myself up. But the shop kind of basically being there, not knowing nothing. And I got a story. Let me start with that story first. So when I got there, I had left K-Tech, or actually it was they had got bought out by Suntron. So Suntron, I left making $19.28, I don't remember. Mm-hmm. And I moved to Allied at the time, and I took a pay cut. I went down to $10 an hour. Oh wow! But I knew that God was telling me that was my move. I have to move, and so then I did. Well, when I was there, I think the first weekend, I was working underneath the truck, and I got out from underneath the truck, and I looked up to the sky, and I said, God, why in the hell you have me here? And just like, and my eyes teared up. Yeah. And I looked at him like, and I said it loud, and people back there working and stuff, and I was like, so I cleaned my tears real quick and went back underneath the truck, and then I sat there for like maybe 30 seconds, and I looked up again, and I'm laying on a creeper underneath the truck, working on the truck. I said, God, your will be done. Whatever you have for me, your will be done. I know you have me here for a reason. Mm-hmm. Those are my exact words. And then I got busy. My energy changed. Everything changed. Yeah. Me having a hard time waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning because my other job I used to wake up at 8. Like everything changed. Yeah. Everything. And then from there, I became the lead man. And then from the lead man, I didn't even have to go work on the heavy side and do all the heavy work. I went from there straight into the office. And then I was basically, they called me the administrative assistant for a little while. And then I became the assistant manager. But it was all God. And so throughout that time, though, I remember one guy come up to me and tell me, well, whose butt are you kissing? You use other words, you know what I mean?
I already know.
And so then he's saying all this stuff, and I'm like, man. I said, look, bro. I said, it's all God. Yeah. I told him straight out. His name was Tommy Dearman, that guy I told. And later on, Tommy, like, okay, I understand. And then another guy came and told me some stuff too. And he ended up telling me some stuff. And he ended up coming to our church later on too. Because he told me, oh, man, you're a hypocrite and all this stuff. Because I would sit there and just bring the word up sometimes, you know what I mean, and say certain things. And, man, I remember he asked me one time, hey, bro, why do all these people come to my house and they want to sit there and tell me about, the God's word and all that stuff, but I'm there mowing the yard and all that stuff. Doesn't God say you're supposed to serve and help people? And I laughed. I said, well, that's not me. You need me to go mow your yard for you. Yeah. And he's like, no, man. He was talking about some other people. Right, yeah. I said, look, bro. I said, yes, you're right. I said, you need help? I'll come help you. No, man. So then he started asking me questions and started helping him. He had me pray for him a couple of times. Prayed for him. But then he ended up going to our church for a while, and then, you know, so and he almost died too after a while. And
oh, really?
They were all praying. We were all praying for him. This is a totally different guy and stuff. Anyway, went from there, went to the office, and then when I got to the office, I had some problems with people that kind of didn't like. I guess me, I don't know, but you know, but anyway, after a while, I just kept moving up, and then eventually, when the shop manager left. I didn't even have to apply for it. They just kind of just gave it to me. But it was all God, you know. And I remember being in the office, the big office there, and I'm like, I remember being out there saying, God, what's that you have me here for? To now me and being in here, like.
What was that time frame? Like between that moment of frustration when you're just like, you know,
so
like
I've been there 21 years now, going on 21 years. I guess it was probably 10 years in already.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so something like that. Yeah.
So it was, you know, you had to, you know, pay your dues, you know, still like, and when did that moment of frustration happen?
What's crazy is when I first got there, I was, remember I told you $10 an hour, right? Well, they had this program that basically they came in and you know, it's going to be God watch. They came in and said, hey, we got this new system we want to install to all these trucks. It's a GPS system, tracking system. And they said, hey, we're going to have to hire somebody or we're going to have to get y'all to get it done.
Yeah.
So they say, well, and so the big boss, Donnie, and Willie, the assistant manager, basically, they came up with the plan like, hey, you know, we can do it. We'll put that, we're going to do it in 6 weeks. And then we'll work on weekends. And basically, we'll pick out certain guys in the shop that can do this job. I only been there 2 weeks, maybe 2 weeks. Willie knew me from Adelaide. I mean, from C&J's, my uncle's shop. He knew I could wire stuff up. He goes, hey man, you come here.
Oh wow.
I got called, and I was doing all the I trained another guy how to basically. We knew the other guy was doing the wiring part of it, and then the other guys were doing all the outside stuff. So me getting there a week and a half in. And y'all keep in mind too, I had already put me and my wife in debt, like I don't remember, like $30,000 in debt. Well, I don't remember what it was, but anyway. And I took a pay cut, so I got picked to do this project. Instead of getting done in 6 weeks, we got done in 3 weeks. They wrote all of us a check for the remaining amounts of what they owed us for the 6 weeks. And we all got a lump sum. I think it was like $8,000 each. Oh,
really?
Yeah. Wow. So, but that was 2 weeks in, and everybody on the side that I was working on the PM side, nobody else got chosen to even work on that. So they were all pissed off. Why does Manuel get to do it and we can't? Yeah. You get what I'm saying? So that was one thing that God did. Yeah. In that situation, and then I went from there to becoming the lead man on the PM side within a year. Yeah. I didn't even want to be a lead man. I just wanted to go and work. Didn't want to do anything. Yeah. Excuse me. With that, and then one day, this guy, another guy he used to work with us, he worked in the office, and he had to go on vacation. Well, he asked me, hey, man, you think you can do this work? I said, yeah. So I went in there while he was on vacation. I covered for him. I did his work. But then I came back out and did my PM stuff again, and then. So what ended up happening, after I became a lead man, Norman was the guy working in there. He ends up getting the degree and leaves. But they hire another guy named Jaime. And they go, hey, man, we need you to train Jaime to work in here. You stay out there. You train this guy. So I said, all right. So I trained him. Well, Jaime got so far behind. Jaime ended up leaving. And so my boss says, hey, would you take this job? And I'm like, I don't want to work in the office. Well, they ain't going to lie to y'all, man. Within a week, I started getting like real bad rash and stuff from the acids and all the stuff that was coming in from the trucks. Yeah. My hands were getting tore up. So I started wearing gloves and stuff, but it was still getting so irritating. Yeah. So my boss came up to me and said, hey, I'm not going to ask again, do you want to do it? And I'm like, I'll take it. I did tell him. And so I got a raise 3 times within so many years. Yeah. So I went from 10 to like 13, I don't remember, so on and so on. And I remember just seeing all that happening. I'm thinking, one of the reasons why I didn't want to go in the office is because I was going to have to take messages. I was going to have to talk to all the dispatchers, talk to customers, talk to all these different people. Yeah. Well, you remember I dropped out of school, so I wasn't a very good speller, didn't write real good. Yeah. And stuff, so I was worried that I was going to make the boss mad. So all these thoughts coming into my head. Right. That's why I really didn't want to do it. And I expressed that to my boss. I said, hey, Donnie, man, really don't want to do this because I'm not a good speller, or this and this and that. Oh man, I ain't worried about that. As long as you know what you're writing on there, that's all that matters. And I'm like, okay. So then I took the job, and from there it was just kind of like history, because I made his job easier. I started changing things up inside the shop and things like that. So then I did that for, I think, like 7, maybe 8 years. I don't remember, maybe a little longer. Yeah. Then I became the manager, and I did that for 2 years, 3 years, I don't remember. And then I became the senior manager. So last year in June, our boss left. And so it's been 1 year since last year. It was actually June 26th. Today's the 28th. So a year and 2 days. Our boss left, or he had left a couple of months prior to that, but I got hired on as the senior manager. Yeah. And I think I expressed to you how I was a little nervous. Right. I didn't really know what's going on. And it's been kind of rough for me because I have to do CapEx. I got to write these, like, it basically tell a story. Give these guys a story of what, why we need this certain equipment and stuff like that, and you know, basically convince them that we need to buy it or whatever. Right, right. I don't even know how to write. So, but I've actually had, since then, I've actually got like maybe 10, maybe, I say maybe 8 things, CapEx that have been approved. But then at the same time, I've also had like maybe 10 to 12 that got rejected. Yeah. When I got rejected, I took it hard. I'm not gonna lie to you. I kind of felt like, man, you know, all this stuff. But what I remembered after all these times that I got rejected is that, hey, it's not rejection, it's correction. They're teaching me how to do it the right way. Yeah. And so I'm learning, and that's what I'm doing. But anyway, so throughout this time, I still think I'm still learning, and God's showing me different things now. So, but no, that's amazing, bro. You know, because it seems like, you know, God's favor has been upon you, you know, ever since you made that decision to follow after him, you know, to pursue him. Yeah. And he's honored that, you know, and he's put you on the fast track and accelerated you. And that's what, you know, we try to remind people all the time, man, that, you know, God's ways are above our ways. You know, his plans are way above our plans. He's able to do exceeding abundantly above anything that we can imagine, if we would just kind of, you know, trust him, trust the process, you know, and just be obedient. You know, he opens doors that no man can shut, you know. Right. And it's, you know, we're talking about the Price is Right, you know. It's like you gotta, if he opens a door, you gotta at least look, you know, to see what's behind it, man, or you'll never know. You know, and see if you walk through it and it doesn't, you know, close on you, hey man, you gotta just see, you know, where it takes you, where it leads you, you know. And a lot of times, you know, we refuse when he's right there, like just giving you a clear sign, like, you know, just trust me, you know, and, you know, I'll take care of the rest. Well, going back to me getting this job, when I applied for it last year, I looked at all the qualifications. I looked at the job description, looked at everything. And I remember saying, there's no way I'm going to get this job. Yeah. And I'm going to be honest with you, that's what I said, because it said that you had to have a master's degree of 5 years. I don't remember something. I don't remember master's degree or so much experience, whatever. Right, right. Of this, and this. I had never did it before, never. And so those are the first thing. I'm like, man, I don't. And so me and my brother-in-law, we both applied for it. I really do believe my brother-in-law could have got the job too if he really wanted it. Yeah. At the end of the day, I don't think he really wanted it either. But I still go back and say, it's all God's plan. Yeah. He was supposed to leave with my old boss, because I was supposed to leave too with my old boss, because I already had another job offer. Yeah. And I think I told you also, one thing that happened was they actually had a certain amount that they were going to pay, and I wasn't really happy about it. Like, even if I did get the job, I was going to ask for my money. Yeah. And so when they called me and told me basically they picked me out of the people that they interviewed, they also told me that not only are they going to hire me, I had prayed the night before. Me and my wife prayed, hey, you know, if they hire me, please allow them to listen to me so I can explain why I deserve more money. Yeah. They came back saying, hey, we're giving you 10% more of what we were saying. So basically they gave me the exact amount that I had prayed about without me even having to even ask them for it. Yeah. That's why I go back and say, hey, even though I didn't have the education, I didn't have the experience, it had to have been God.
That's it,
Well,
man.
You know, who else is going to be? And the guy that was my boss, he had other people interview me. It wasn't even him. So it was actually people from up north.
Wow.
2 people from up there that didn't even know me. And then they had 2 people from here that did know me. And one of the guys here, his name's Brad Bowman, he actually told me, I've worked with you so long, you know, I know you know what you're doing. You know, you do a great job. So I don't think he's the one that kind of made all that happen. I'm just saying, them also maybe God used him to kind of listen to what he had to say too, to kind of help with everything too. You know what I mean? I don't know. You know, I'm just saying, you know, I just know it was God.
Yeah.
So,
man, praise God, bro. You know, you know, it's been a blessing to get to know you and to see, you know, how far God has brought you. And before we get ready to wrap up, you know, like I wanted you to share, just recently you felt inspired to, you know, get into barbering. And you told a very interesting story about like what inspired you to do that. You know, and it's, I think, you know, just, you know, it's just a reflection of who you are, bro. Like, you know, you're just, you know, you're very generous. You're very kind, you know, and like you said earlier, man, you can clearly see that, you know, you're a guy that has a heart after God's own heart, bro. And just trying to be obedient to what he, you know, tells you to do. So, you know, tell me a little bit about that. You went out and, you know,
well, you got to remember, the first thing I got to say is I like people have nappy heads. So I like to turn nappy heads into happy heads.
There you go. Nappy heads.
That's not the real reason, but you know the real reason is. Now I think I told you about the story when I was a little kid, and my mom, I had lice in my hair, and that's not the story you're talking about, but I'm gonna talk about that first.
Yeah.
That kind of helped me to get to where the reasoning for everything. But you know, I remember being in school and I got pulled into the nurse's office and they checked your hair. I don't know if they still do that no more. I don't know if they even do that anymore. I don't know what they do now. But they go with a pencil and they go to your hair. And I had real long hair. And I had lice, and I remember they sent me home. And so, like I said, my uncle was a barber. So my mom got his stuff. And without putting the guard on it, she went like that and she just bald me. And it was all bald. And so they had to take all of it off. So I remember being in school and being embarrassed. And people would pick on me and, you know, kind of handle myself after a while. But I remember them telling me, I'll be a bald-headed boy, you know, all this stuff, and shine your hair for a quarter. So I used to get upset, you know what I mean? So I always felt bad. So then I remember just that happening to me when I was a little kid. So I remember saying, hey, one day when I get older, I'm going to become a barber and then cut kids' hair, you know, and I'll cut it for free if they want. And if they can't afford it, I'll cut it for free. So, because, you know, we were poor. We couldn't afford it. The only time I really got a good haircut basically is when my grandpa would take me or somebody. So from that, you know, eventually my goal is to like try to do, and I think, I don't know if I told you, but my wife sent me an actual text this week saying that Tire Refuge is doing a back to school thing where they're going to get a whole bunch of barbers together to cut hair. And so I'm going to look into it. I'm probably going to volunteer, but that's something that I've been saying I wanted to do anyway. So my goal is basically to either help the youth or the younger generation, the kids, or people that can't afford a haircut, that I'll cut their hair. It don't matter. I'll do it for free. It don't matter. And so to give back, you know, maybe give back to the communities that are less fortunate, that can't afford a haircut and stuff like that. I want to help out in that area, but also go to like a old folks home or, you know, maybe stuff like that where I can go and say, hey, I'm going to be here this day. If there's anybody here that, you know, I want to kind of get in there and try to see if there's anybody there that wants a haircut, I'll do it for free. You know what I mean? Help it back. Give back. You know what I mean? That's one of the things. That's probably the main reason why I wanted to become a barber for a reason. But, hey, there's also good money in it, too. So, but the main reason is to give back. Right.
And, you know, I remember you told me that, and I was like, man, that's awesome, bro, because that's an accomplishment in itself. You know, to put yourself through barbering school, you know, especially when you already got a full-time job, you know, you already got a good, you know, career going, you know, you're doing really well for yourself. You know, it's like, why do I, you know, need this?
Well, my retirement plan is at 55 to retire. That's my goal. But I all the older guys that I hang out with, they all tell me this. They go, hey, when you hit 55, you think you can retire. You want to retire. He goes, but you're probably gonna make the most money you ever made before.
Yeah.
Gonna have the easiest job you ever had before. You're not gonna want to retire. Mm-hmm. And because the goal was to retire at 55 and then just kind of do barbering full time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then kind of do that. But you know me, I love having relationships with people.
Right.
I love talking.
Yeah.
I love to be around people. And to me, I feel like when somebody comes and gets a haircut, not only do they look good when they leave, they feel good.
Right.
Because you get to talk to that person.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but you get to talk to that person gets to talk to you. Sometimes you don't even got to say nothing. Just listen to them.
Yep.
Because they need to be vent. They need a vent and things like that. So to me, I feel like, hey, I can be a vessel for God.
Yeah.
If God wants to use me to help, but maybe throw out a scripture, or they ask me for my advice.
Yeah.
Give them a scripture, stuff like that, to where or if I need to motivate them, like, hey man, don't worry about it. It's gonna be all right. I've been through that. You know, stuff like that. You know what I mean? And I think that's the reasoning for me eventually, is to use my barbering as a platform for me to be able to not only give back, but also give to them what God wants us to give.
Amen.
You know, and to show them the word. You know what I mean?
Yeah, at the end of the day, we're just vessels. We're instruments, you know, whether for honor, you know, to honor him, or to, you know, of dishonor, you know, and basically you're just an extension of the Clippers, you know what I'm saying? Yes. So, you know, it's cool because we had another friend of ours, Jimmy, you know, he's you know, like he that's his profession, you know, he's a barber, you know, and, you know, he came on and, you know, the same thing. And like, it's you're not just offering them like a haircut, you know, but you're also, you know, it's something therapeutic for a lot of the people that sit in your chair. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
You know, they get a chance to just, a lot of conversations are had in the barber chair, you know?
Yes.
And my wife, she's a hairstylist as well, you know, and she's told me like lots of interesting stories and how God has used her, you know, to be able to offer encouragement, support, you know, for those people, you know, and I commend you for that, bro. The fact that, you know, you did that on the side, you know, considering how demanding your job may be, you know, and what you got going on already, you know, there's not really a need for it. You know,
I did tell you, me doing the school was not that hard. It was kind of me doing it on my own pace and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The hard part was me passing. Remember I told you about that?
Yeah.
And I tell you how many times I failed? Did I tell you or I didn't?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, so, but what I really appreciate my wife and my daughter pushing me to continue, because remember, I think I even told you, I don't know if I told you, but I thought about even just giving up. You know what I mean? And I don't know, I think I told you I failed once or twice.
Yeah.
But I took the test 4 times. The 4th time is when I passed. And so, but what my daughter told me is that, hey, Dad, you know, you're cutting hair and you're helping these people out. Eventually, you want to go and help everybody else out too. But then she says, if they come, or if they just say they find out you are cutting hair without a license, they're gonna fine you $1,000. Why don't you continue to go take the test? If you fail 10 times, it's still not $1,000.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, you're right. So actually, after that, she told me that I won my last time, the 4th time, and I passed. And then I went and did my practical. So she's the one who actually helped me do my practical. Actually. I give a lot of credit to her to spend all that time with me. So, you know, I'm glad that happened. But yes, it was a little hard for me, and I even thought about not even doing it after all. But but it's not God's plan. God used my wife and my daughter to keep pushing me to get it done, because I know that God has a plan for it.
Yeah, man. No, it's been a real treat getting to know you, man, and see, you know, even though we don't go way back, you know, to the beginning, like, you know, where I've come in, you know, and where our paths cross each other, you know, is just getting to know you and seeing how much of a well-rounded dude you are, you know, like a jack of all trades, Renaissance man, you know, you're an avid outdoorsman, you know, I was remembering, like, you know, that's one of the perks of the job too, that you got to have, you know, you've gone on these trips and hunting trips and stuff like that. And we'll show one of those pictures where you got your that buck that you took out, and even the bobcat, you know.
Well, my wife don't like the bobcat, so let's not show that. She said, "Hey, it's a little kitty that I feel, so don't do that."
Yeah, man. So man, you're just, you know, a guy's guy, man, and it's been a real treat, you know, getting to know you, bro. And you know, I hope that on this episode that people have gotten to see, you know, that about you, and And so, man, I really appreciate you taking the time to come on, man. And I know, you know, we already talked about you doing a follow-up with your wife, Christina, man. And we can't wait to hear that side because, you know, you guys are involved at your church currently. You guys, and, you know, you guys have a small group for married couples. And, you know, we can't wait to hear all about that, you know. So with that being said, you know, like how can people get connected with you, you know, like as far as your, you know, for, you know, your barbering services, you know, for haircuts, you know.
Well, I can get my number out or whatever, but So, but I do have an Instagram.
Okay. We'll put that. We'll link that link there for you.
Shoot, that's basically it.
Yeah.
You know,
so what's the name of the DMC?
Yeah, so it's
Diesel Manny Cuts, you know, where you're rocking the hat right there.
Yeah, so you know, I'm not really trying to promote that,
right?
You know, but if there's anybody out there that who is watching this and they ever want to come and just, you know, give me a chance to get to here, I will. Yeah. But at the same time, hey, if you just need somebody to talk to, I'm here. You know what I mean? And I'll cut your hair for free if you needed somebody just to pray with you. You know, to me, I feel like, hey, that's more important than trying to get, you know, some money, because money comes and goes, and money don't do everything for you. You know, so I don't even care about that. Actually, I care about salvation, knowing that people growing in God. Yeah. And you know, a lot of people do need help, no matter what. You know what I mean? Yeah. I remember our old pastor used to say, people that come to church, it's like basically they need help. It's like a hospital. They don't come to church because they're doing good. Right. Nobody does good. Everybody that goes to church, there's a problem, and you deal with those problems every day. And some people might have bigger problems or hurt a whole lot more than somebody else, but at the end of the day, they need help. And that, you know, that's one thing that we're here for, is to help. Yeah. We might not have all the answers for the questions you have, but at the end of the day, we know somebody, or we can get we can find the information.
Find the help you need. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. So. Nah, man. Well, I really appreciate you coming on, man. And it's, you know, we can go on and on, you know, as we have before, you know, when, and, you know, but like I said, you'll be back. And we can't wait for that opportunity, you know, when your wife, Christina, and you come on. And
she's more detailed, so y'all will get a whole lot more information than I'm kind of like real quick and try to, you know, I do talk a lot. So my wife says sometimes I talk too much. Yeah. But she's really detailed, and like if you really like detailed stuff, she knows how to tell a story real good. And you can imagine what she's saying, because then you think you were there. Yeah. No, and, you know, we can't wait because I know you guys do a lot of work with couples and stuff. And, you know, you guys, you know. I did tell you that me and my wife are doing, I can't remember what my daughter called it. It's
Marriage Tip Mondays. Yeah, I wanted to make sure you got the, you know, shared that with the viewers.
She's doing it through her Instagram. She's doing it through hers. It's every Monday night. So we're just basically giving a tip out of something that helped us throughout our years to be together. So we've been married 20.
Yeah, you guys got the track record, 27 years, bro. That's
to me, that's a lot, but I know people have been together a lot longer. But I do believe that if you put God first, it helps. And you put God first, and that's what's going to help you get to the marriage, you know, to where it needs to be. And but so we're going to give a scripture out, and then we kind of just talk about it. Yeah. You know, and that's it.
And I'm excited to check that out. So, and we'll share the link as soon as you get that, you know, you'll give that to us, and we'll put it out there as well, so people can, you know, check you guys out, you know. So, cause I know you guys got a lot to offer in that area, you know, when it comes to relationships. So, you know, we can't wait for when you guys come back on.
We did say, you know, the one thing that we have learned is that everything that we've done in our lives is going to help everybody out. Yeah. We might say something might not even make sense to somebody else. Right. At that moment. But one day in life, you'll look back and say, now I understand why they said that. Yep. You know what I mean? And the scripture we did this past week was, be quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to anger. Amen. And the reason why we brought that up is because a lot of times you are going to disagree in life. Mm-hmm. No matter what you do, you and your wife will have a disagreement. Yeah. And it's okay to disagree. You don't always got to be on the same page. Yeah. But before you go to bed, don't be mad about it. Yeah. Just say, hey, you know what? It's okay. And we always remember, is it going to matter in 5 days? If it don't matter in 5 days, you're fighting for the wrong reasons. Yeah. Or you're arguing for the wrong reasons. It's not going to matter at all. Yeah. Because in 5 days, you're going to forget about it. Yeah. Or it might even be less than that. Yeah. So me and my wife, we've learned, be quick to listen, slow to speak. If she gets mad at me, I get mad at her. I think in 10 minutes, we're like back to normal. Yeah. It's that quick. Yeah. But sometimes we'll be like, what? Like kind of, And next thing, like, oh man, come here. It's like, but that's how it's supposed to be. But anyway.
Yeah. Nah, man, I appreciate it, and we can't wait to see that. And we'll be we'll pass that along to those that are interested. We'll link it up. So, man, but thanks a lot, bro.
Thank you for having me. And thanks for the invite.
And I really enjoyed this, and it was long overdue, and it was worth the wait, though. That we got to do it now. And for the viewers out there, thank you for taking the time to check us out. If you enjoyed this, and you want to be a part of something like this, we started back up our gatherings, and for those that aren't comfortable in a typical like church setting, where we can have church here, you can have church with us and experience it in this kind of format. Just very conversational, casual, and laid back, but power packed. We've been seeing the move of the Holy Spirit. And so we welcome you, and you don't have to clean yourself up. There's no judgment here. You're in a safe place. So we welcome you. And if you have if you need that information, just reach out to me, and we'll be glad to have you. So with that being said, thank you guys once again. Please give us a follow, click the subscribe button, give us some likes if you enjoyed what you hear, give us some constructive criticism, whatever. Any feedback is good feedback, and we welcome that. So thank you guys for your time, and we're signing out. God bless.
God bless.